fucking popular.
Hello, everyone. I'm Rania Kalik with Breakthrough News.
I'm Zoe Alexander with People's Dispatch. We're here in Mexico City, and we're joined by Dr. Claudia Sheinbaum, the head of government of Mexico City, and one of the founders of Morena Party of President Andrés Manuel López Obrador. She's a rising figure in Mexican politics and one of the frontrunners in the 2024 Mexican presidential elections.
Dr. Sheinbaum, thank you so much for joining us.
No, thank you for coming.
So let's jump right into it. You studied environmental engineering in university, and today you are the head of government of one of the largest cities in the world, over 20 million people in Mexico City. And you're also one of the founders of the largest progressive political party in the region, Morena. Can you tell us about your journey into politics? You went from student activism to being an elected official. What were your politics like growing up?
Well, first of all, my background is physics. I studied physics, then energy engineering for my master and my PhD. And when I was 15...
Like, Sophia, you're a 3-month subscriber. You ostensibly are a leftist. I don't personally understand why you're in here talking like this. AMLO gains so much support by giving money to students and those over 60, which sounds good, but he's doing so by printing money. So that's just a ticking time bomb for financial disaster for Mexico. Like, obviously, it's a little bit different when you're a country like Mexico in comparison to a country like America, but this is the exact same kind of fucking sentiment that I hear from, you know, neoliberal right-wingers in the United States of America, straight up Republican Party voters that will say, like, that's what Brandon's doing. He wants to give, you know, free money to the students and take away their student loan debt. Like, it's like, what? Don't post as W's if you want to actually criticize them, because there are valid criticisms you can make about AMLO from a left wing perspective. I don't even know if what you're saying is completely correct in any case, but you know, because Mexico operates different. Okay.
Years old. That was the first time that when I was in high school, the first time that I get involved in student mobilization, the student movement, because many people couldn't.
This
get
is from a year ago, by the way, when she's the
I was
mayor.
in, but I was, you know, in solidarity with those that couldn't have the possibility of studying. And then, you know, I get involved in social politics. And it was very important for us in 1988 when the Ingeniero Cárdenas was...
Yeah, it's different in countries that aren't monetary powerhouses like America is. You got to tread more lightly when it comes to that aspect. Yes, 100%. Like the real money supply inflationary shocks are way more significant. Like modern, even MMT enjoyers, MMT defenders will not make the mistake that you can do MMT in a country like Mexico. You can only do it in a country with like sovereign currency. Whereas like a nation like Mexico is still very much beholden to global market forces, and beyond that are in certain instances almost completely controlled by the IMF and the World Bank regardless. So ultimately though, good. That's crazy. That's a lot. Okay. Yeah.
Candidate for presidency. And it was very important for us because we came from a student movement, and we decided, I said us because our generation, and we decided to go to Ingeniero Cárdenas. And later on, I went to the US to study my PhD. And then I returned and I was part of the university. But I was involved from my parents that they were involved in the 1968 student movement. So I was involved in politics, but my main occupation was to be a mother and to be in the university. And in 2000, President López Obrador, when he was chief of government of Mexico City, he invited me to be the Minister of Environment. And I get involved, and later on in 2006 with the electoral fraud I was, with Lopez Obrador, even though I returned to university, I was, with him in all the movement that finally get into the burn of Morena.
Great. Well, we know that PRI and PAN really maintained a stranglehold over Mexican politics since 1946. In 2016, Morena was founded to be an alternative to this. And in 2018, of course, Morena achieved a historic electoral victory with the election of Andrés Manuel López Obrador. What does this mean for the course of Mexican politics?
In 2016, when Morena was created, nobody wanted to be in Morena because it was a new party. And in Mexico, you have to win a certain percentage of the votes to be an official party. And it was very difficult because just few people wanted to be in Morena. And the decision to get away from PRD, the party that we were, is that, we thought at that time that there was no possibility in the party that was getting very close to the official party. So we decided to create. We decided because there were a lot of assemblies in all the country that decided to create this party. And from 2016 to 2022, it's, 7 years. And now we have, the presidency, 22 governors of 32, the majority in the Congress, the majority in the Senate, and a lot of municipal presidentials. Why? It's because people want to change. And it's a change from economic model. We, neoliberalism now is in the past. And we have now a government that thinks in the majority, thinks in Mexican people rather than thinks in a privileged group. So, and right now we have the majority, and that's because people are, happy. Even though a lot of media is against the president and against Morena, people wants this change and wants this fourth transformation, as we call it, to continue.
So one thing that confirms some of what you're saying is the fact that you're currently leading all major voter intention polls for the 2024 presidential election. What do you think has led to this support?
Okay, first of all, I think it's that I have been in the movement always. I've been near President López Obrador, always since 2023 years. And at some point, people remember that I was, in the Adelitas movement that we have in 2008 against the privatization of oil, of the Mexican oil, of Pemex. And I was, in many movements. So they think that I can continue what President López Obrador is doing.
Oh shit, I was muted. Sorry, I didn't realize. If you look at the 2024 Mexico presidential election live results, she didn't just win 60%. She literally fucking wiped the goddamn map.
This news is front.
I mean, it's crazy. The problem here is that most of the members of Morena used to be members of PRI and PAN and other corrupt parties. At the end of the day, Mexican political class all comes from the same sewer and the same kind of rats. I need to understand what this chatter's not this chatter's gripes with AMLO, but I need to understand who this chatter thought would have been a better alternative. Like, who do you think was better? Because you keep saying it's about picking what the most pressing issue. The issue is Mexico's going towards a state communism while pretending that it's socialism. If she studies what she said, it'd be great. But that's just not the reality. The proof is in how Mexico hasn't gotten any better in the past 6 years in the things that are most important. Like, who was a better alternative in your assessment? I've seen detractors, maybe like Sophia, who think cartels are the number one problem. Cartels are the number one problem. You know what I mean? They are the number one problem. The problem, however, with cartels is like tackling cartels in Mexico is like tackling capitalism in America. Okay? The way I look at it is like if I had a fucking candidate American comparisons don't even fucking work that well because the situation in America is really dire, really awful, but like nowhere near. Like Mexico is not even a comparison, okay? We did not have 37 fucking political assassinations this time around. You know what I mean? Like while we were while we were having our elections, right? We don't have like 100,000 people that have gone missing. I have no problem discussing the things. The only reason why they picked, I don't even know how to say this name still, was because AMLO picked beef with her. She was a trash pick too, but AMLO just wants to be a dictator, so continuing his handpick is just concerning. Okay, but you're not giving an alternative. So chill. So chill. So chill. So chill. I'm a cartel member in Mexico. We are very chill. There's no problem here. People like that chatter mostly complain. All we do is watch DBZ. Okay. People like that chatter mostly complain about them being tied to narcos, but they will never leave. They have control and always have had control over the country. The difference when Calderon won is that he went to war versus the cartels to give the power to other cartels. Do you think cartels in Mexico will eventually fizzle out like the mafia? No. I think that organized crime in Mexico is going to literally turn into fucking what the Yakuza is inevitably, but with more power, where they will just have like fiefdoms, which they currently do, but they will become, I guess, like one avenue out of it is to completely like legalize their operations or recognize them as like genuine fiefdoms. You know what I mean? Because I don't know. I don't know how there's no fizzling out. They have a firm stranglehold on the American drug market in general. Like they have an incredible fucking they have all the supply. They have an incredible fucking base of support in America that will take all the demand. They have an endless stream of guns going into Mexico that has basically given them the power of actual militaries, sometimes more powerful than the militaries themselves. These are bad things, right? Yes, none of these are good things. The only way, that's why I said the only way to tackle the cartel issue, cartel are literally political parties law. They have people on the inside. OC, organized crime, is so embedded in politics that you need to deal with the underlying issue of why people join organized crime rather than a life of honest work. Yeah. And that can only come through, genuine solutions, genuine fixes to systemic inequality. But ultimately, if you want to tackle the other aspect of, the cartel supremacy in Mexico, you have to deal with it by, it's an American issue.
The second thing is who I am and what I have done in Mexico City. If they didn't like a scientist and a politic to be a president, they probably don't prefer myself. And also my work in Mexico City. If my job here in Mexico have been bad and people were, against me, but probably I couldn't go, to the next step. And finally, believe it or not, is because I'm a woman. It's now time for women. It's incredibly, it's not only the social movement of young women, and it's also that in Mexico, we have already 9 governors and many women participating in politics, so it's not strange. And at some point, people see that it's good to have a president, a female president.
Well, we'd like to talk about one of those reasons.
Hasan's lack of knowledge to Mexican politics leaves him prone to fall for right-wing talking points because he's viewing this from an American lens. Wait, what? I don't think so. A chatter is a conservative. I literally said that. I said that she is arguing on conservative talking points. Just because I'm asking questions to a chatter doesn't mean that I'm it doesn't mean that I'm lapping up what she's fucking saying. The fuck? It's good to investigate these sorts of criticisms further so that everyone can become more knowledgeable about the counter positions. I do this for every single issue. I'm going to maintain my charitability when someone comes in with right-wing talking points, but that doesn't mean I'm going to be like, oh yeah, I believe everything you just said. Why do so many people come into the chat and claim you lack knowledge for so many issues? Because there are areas of expertise that I have. I wouldn't say like full-blown expertise in the same realm as like a researcher or whatever, but there are issues that I am knowledgeable on and issues that I am not as knowledgeable on. This is definitely one of them for sure. I'm not like super tapped into the intricacies of domestic politics in Mexico. You know what I mean? But that doesn't mean I'm like eating right-wing propaganda.
You spoke about, which is your role as head of government of Mexico City. Again, a city of over 20 million people, which is very significant. And you were elected by popular vote again in 2018. As head of government, you've taken on many initiatives to address some of the structural issues facing the city. And one of them that we'd like to talk about is, of course, femicide and the issue of women, which is a huge challenge for Mexico. It's a huge challenge for the region in general. But in your role, you've taken a lot of different initiatives to address this issue, to make the city a safer place for women. So can you talk a bit about those initiatives?
Yes, in November 2019, I decided to make an alarm for women. We could say that. And so we developed 11 points for women to be safe in the city. And we have now done more than that. I can tell you some examples. For example, we have 27 centers to attend women that have violence at home. We have passed many laws. One that I like to say in many places is that, when we think violence in the household or in families, what we think is, let's take the woman and her children to a refuge.
Yeah.
How do you say it in English?
Refuge.
Refuge.
Yeah.
So I asked myself, why do you have to take out the women and put it and hide her, right? So now we have a law here in Mexico City that it's the aggressor goes out of the house. So even if the property is not of the women, of the woman, of her, she has the right to stay at home. And the man or the aggressor has parental measures, or even he goes to jail if the judge decided. So it's a complete different way of thinking. And also we have made 800 kilometers of safe corridors with a lot of light and buttons for help, for the police to come. We have a special number. It's 765 to call for if you have you have problems, if you're a woman, and many other things that. We don't know if there are more feminicides now than before, because before they were not counted, but we have to take care of that. Yeah.
Calling all men aggressors, yikes. Bro, imagine fucking... Imagine looking at a country like Mexico, that femicide is a massive issue, and being like, wow, it's really fucked up. This rad femme is chirping about all men. She wants to kill all men. It's like, bro, that's crazy. Calm down, okay? Fucking calm down. Cool it.
And I mean, you've dealt with so many other issues as well. One of the biggest ones affecting the entire planet, of course, is climate change. And you're an environmental engineer. As you mentioned, you were also Secretary of Environment. And you were part of the UN panel on climate change in 2007, which won a Nobel Peace Prize. And Mexico City, like all major cities, deals with many issues related to this, such as access to water or pollution, just the general impact of climate change. During your time in office, what have...
She thanks Jesus in her acceptance speech. I think it might be her husband. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Was mildly surprised to see President-elect Claudia Sheinbaum thanking Jesus in her acceptance speech, as she is of a secular Jewish background, only to realize that she was referring to her husband, Jesus Tariba? Yeah. It wasn't. Why would they even elect her? She's not even Mexican. She's Lithuanian Jewish. I like that this is Goat K Kona Savage. I like that this is just pure anti-Semitism. Like, literally, just nothing else. I know I wanted some hogs in here, but not like this, okay? Just absolutely feral. I mean, just vintage, yeah. Yeah, just like Obama's not a real American. You know what I'm saying, brother? The head of the Democratic Majority for Israel said that too. The co-chair of Democratic Majority for Israel tried to smear the incoming Mexican president by implying she isn't Jewish enough. He said she even thanked Jesus for her victory. Important to note that she is not involved in the Jewish community and thanked Jesus for her victory, which is literally the name of her husband. But that, she's not invested in her Jewish roots, and also, guess what, dude? She married a guy named Jesus. I mean, I don't know. Mexican is a Catholic country to the core. Religious diversity is scarce. That's why so many people are against their Jewish background. She runs under the impression that she isn't religious. I don't think she is religious. I think she comes from a fucking commie family, dude. That's all I need to know. Marrying someone named Jesus is kind of anti-Semitic. Yeah, she's not a religious person at all. What the fuck are we talking about? On that front, I would even go so far as to say she's better than fucking AMLO. Like, what are we talking about? She, unironically, in my opinion, everything that I've read so far, she literally has a lot of aspects to her that were AMLO's biggest weaknesses from my understanding. More dynamic. A woman that's like, you know, automatic feminism there. Her background as a stem cell. Her work in her work in environmental activism. Now, obviously, there are glaringly obvious weaknesses. For example, her silence is violence, I will say, in terms of the issue on wood elves. Obviously, we don't know how much she's talked about it in the past. I tried to investigate and I found 0 tweets from her about duendes. I don't know if she believes that they are real or not. Like, this is a major issue for me. Personally, I think it's important, but ultimately, I think her silence speaks volumes. On the issue of wood elves. Okay. Claudia Sheinbaum has won Mexico's presidential election in a landslide. In her victory speech, she paid homage to the social movements of the past and promised to continue Morena's impressive record of social progress. The Morena leadership holed up in the Hilton Hotel in Mexico City was in a state of quiet shock. They knew they were going to win Mexico's presidential election, but not by that much. As results trickled in yesterday evening, it became clear the long-expected victory was a drubbing. So far, Claudia Sheinbaum holds a 30-point lead over her conservative rival, Social Galvez, 58.3% to 28.7%, with the third-party candidate, Jorge Alvarez Maynez, coming in at 10.5%. Mexico said no to men, okay? Enough men. We got women now. Women are in charge. Okay? According to the projections made by the National Electoral Institute, Sheinbaum's final total is expected to fall within 58.3 to 60.1%, outperforming all but a pair of the final pre-election polls. According to the Institute's Conteo Rápido, or fast count, the landslide was expected to carry over into Congress as well, with Morena and his allies winning up to 380 of the 500 seats in the lower house, the Chamber of Deputies, and up to 88 of the 128 seats in the Senate. This would put the center-left coalition within a range of its ambitious goal of achieving a qualified majority of 2/3, which would allow it to pass constitutional reforms on its own. Together with the state legislatures it controls, not only did Morena win the all-important mayorship of Mexico City with the candidate Clara Brugada, the Morena coalition is also set to pick up at least 6 of the 8 governors' races for grabs. This is like, people that are upset at technically, democracy in this situation. Now, I understand why people would be fearful about the governing mandate that this party now has, considering Mexico's history. I think that's what a lot of people are worried about. A lot of people are cynical and very worried about it, but ultimately this is literally a consequence of the party's popularity due to the party's many different policies of, as far as I understand, trying to tackle some of the underlying material issues in Mexico. To put Morena's victory in perspective, Sheinbaum is on course to best Andrés Manuel López Obrador's 2018 landslide victory of 53% by some 5 to 7 points. Where AMLO received a historic total of 30 million votes, Sheinbaum will have received some 35 million. Similarly, Galvez was running about 10 to 12 points behind the Conservative Party's total in that election in 2018. The Conservative Party's Institutional Revolutionary Party, PRI, and National Action Party, PAN, ran separately this year. They ran in a coalition, but instead of adding in numbers, the coalition wound up subtracting. Many of you were naysayers of duendes and their power to offer you wish fulfillment, but it seems like who's laughing now? Okay, who's laughing now? A lot of you said it's not real. Wood elves are not real. They can't hurt you. Meanwhile, you know what AMLO was doing? Whispering to the wood elves about his dreams of increasing the power, the popularity of his party. Turns out that's a dub for him. A dub for the wood elves and also a dub for him. What is this wood elf thing? If you don't know about it, don't ask about it. It's fine. Don't worry about it. A refusal to be goaded. True to her scientific background, Sheinbaum ran on a disciplined, methodical campaign, taking nothing for granted despite holding a virtually unchanged lead since announcing her candidacy. Sheinbaum racked up the miles, holding 3 times as many rallies as Galvez, where Galvez veered from one uncosted policy proposal to another. Sheinbaum rolled out a 100-point program that includes extending social programs and scholarships, continuing annual minimum wage increases. That was massively popular. Consolidating Mexico's push towards national health care, building 1 million affordable homes on a rent-to-buy plan, constructing 7 long-distance train lines, avoiding the maquiladora experience of the 1990s by mandating that companies investing in the nearshoring phenomenon provide higher wages and benefits, and in what is certain to continue, raising the shackles of multinational energy interests, a public sector-led energy transition building on Mexico's state-owned oil, electricity, and lithium companies. Throughout the campaign and over the course of 3 debates, Sheinbaum refused to be goaded by opposition candidate Galvez's scattershot series of attacks that got nastier over time. Galvez, playing to the hilt a go-negative campaign strategy, attacked everything from her character to her family to her record as Mexico City's mayor, winding up a series of dog whistle insinuations about Sheinbaum's Jewish heritage. Sheinbaum also refused to be goaded by those who repeated that she is going to be a puppet of outgoing President AMLO. Every time someone would try to insist on the need to create a more individualistic image, as if she were marketing a new brand of cereal detergent, Sheinbaum would calmly explain that she represents a social movement and that her administration will proudly be segundo piso, or second floor, of Mexico's 4th transformation. And she did it all with the poker face persona that served her in good stead as mayor of Mexico City, one that, eschewing the attempt to force a lofty oratorical style, asserted her authority with understated consistency both in interviews and on the stump. And the voters approved. Okay. Sheinbaum's victory also came despite a coordinated international campaign of media and bots that attempted to paint AMLO and Morena as being in collusion with drug cartels. This is only a chapter of the nonstop media onslaught that sneered and slandered its way through AMLO's administration without deigning to learn about what was happening underneath its very limited radar. Maybe that's part of the reason why the chatters are coming in here and saying, like, no, AMLO met with Chapo's mom. They are in the pocket of cartels as well. And that, I mean, there is a very real escalation of cartel violence for sure. Okay. Way, way, way more consequential and way more significant than the violence at the top of the hour ad break that chatters constantly chirp about. Like, that's the biggest type of violence that chatters see on a daily basis and fucking complain about on a daily basis. So, you know, that's important to recognize that you can defend yourself against that violence at the top of the hour ad break as long as you subscribe for $5 or free. I can't believe they wrote this in the Jacobin, by the way. Why does the Jacobin know about the top of the hour ad break? King Henry IV, thank you for the 10 community gift to subs, allowing 10 people to no longer be victims of the top of the hour ad break. The 3 minutes that of ads that come at the top of the hour. Here's the 3-minute ad break now. For the election, a gaggle of foreign journalists touched down in Mexico City, marveling that such a machista country would be electing a woman president, and so comfortably. Once again, all the comfortable tropes, election of state voters, bought out by social programs, religious populace, and the thrall of a handpicked successor of a messianic leader were trundled out. Anything to avoid granting agency to Mexican voters are seeing what has been happening on the ground, a policy-driven process of party realignment in which working-class voters scattered across parties in the 2018 election have concentrated in Morena while maintaining the party's cross-class coalition largely intact. After a victory acknowledgement in the Hilton, Sheinbaum made her way to Mexico City's main square, the Zocalo, where, I don't know if I'm saying that right. There, she paid homage to the social movement as a path from workers to students, teachers to farmers, and read out the names of women who have played pivotal roles in Mexico's history. As the latest member of that list, Sheinbaum will have an enormous electoral mandate, even larger than AMLO's. As of October 1st, the Presidente will now be the Presidenta. Zocalo? Okay. This article is really bad. Morena is deep in ties to the cartel, as all Mexican governments have been, and there's no pushback against them. AMLO severely lowered collaboration with U.S. drug agencies, and now... I'm sorry, I'm not fucking rating Mexico's presidential performance off of how well they collaborate with the motherfucking DEA, okay? That is crazy. That is a ridiculous metric of success. You again, that feels more like a dub that you just posted in the chat. That is insane. He has not caught any major drug capos. Remember, they let Chapo's son run away. It's important to cover that Mexico's government is and has always been tainted by narco money. Yes, this is true. But the notion that like American federal agencies are going to be very helpful when they are, like, I would say almost directly responsible for so much of the cartel's prominence and power. It's awesome to think that, like, you know, it's awesome to think that we should be rating the Mexican president's performance off of how well they collaborate with the American federales.